are listening to 13 Ministries Radio. Here's your host, Minister Dawud Muhammad.
One of the things that I want to start out by addressing is something that I spoke briefly about last week. But I want to take a little time tonight to speak directly to the subject. A few women have made comments to me in emails and on the wall about woman song being hard on women. Ladies, woman song is not a pep rally for the black female. If you need cheerleaders, you're in the wrong space. All right, pep rallies, to this point, heretofore with, have done us no good. Why you would want to continue that is beyond me, and actually of little consequence, considering that it is the goal and expectation of the women's song community to elevate our consciousness and facilitate our recreation as women of honor and valor. When you are exercising muscles that you haven't used in a while, it's uncomfortable. And while we do seek to keep you motivated, you will be challenged. That means that in all areas of human activity in which we have a deficit, it must be identified, addressed, and most importantly, it must be rooted out. I seek to be in a constant state of becoming. I seek to have my paradigm shifted on a daily. And to properly handle such growth, we have to be prepared. And we cannot prepare and train by holding on to old wounds that have festered and healed over. Woman's song seeks to open those wounds, to clean them out, apply the healing salve, which we all know sometimes burns. We're going to cauterize that thing if we need to, and we're going to begin the real healing process from the inside out. No holds barred, straight no chaser, all or none, welcome to the real. How many cliches do you need? I'm saying that we will not mince words nor hide truths. And if you cannot handle this truth, you must excuse yourself because it's on. It's on and popping in this joint. We've crawled and we've drank milk and we're moving to solids now. So come along if you can digest this new food. Otherwise, you have to know that we will not falter and we will not retreat. We are in the middle of the road where we have to make a critical decision as to whether or not this direction is for you. So with that being said, a word to the wise is sufficient. I will not address this matter again. I've said my piece. And at this juncture, you are either with us or you are against us.
Oh, man. Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, came in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, I bear witness there is no God but Allah. I bear witness that the Honorable Muhammad is the last and greatest messenger. And we of 13 Revolution can never thank Allah enough for raising up an army as our leader, the Honorable Minister with X. I greet my dear brothers and sisters with the green words of peace once again of Assalamu alaikum. It is my pleasure and honor to be here once again to have the blessing and opportunity to preach the word of God according to the life-giving teachings of the Honorable Muhammad and the understanding given to us today by our leader, the Honorable Minister with X. I am so grateful to Allah for those of you who have taken time out of your busy schedule to hear what we have to say today. There are many places that you could have been, but you chose to be here, and I'll be very honest with you. Choosing to be here is a blessing today because we have a very, very, very dear guest, a sister who does not play around. If you listen to the clip that we had just played just a couple of seconds ago, then you know why this has to happen. You do know that, right? You do know why we have to have our sister address this situation because she does not compromise, she does not back down, She is a powerful sister that says what needs to be said. And this is not coming from a brother who's looking for somebody to justify some things that I may have done, some things that I may not have done. But this comes from a man that admires a sister who believes in something and stands for it. And that's why I thought of the many different parts of her show that I listened to that I could have played. That is the best one to represent, in my judgment, what she stands for, because this is the time that we're living in, and God raises up a person to meet a situation that may not be filled by somebody else or may be filled at that particular time by inadequate people, but he raises up somebody. She raises up somebody that is adequate and up to the job. And so, brothers and sisters, I've been admiring the work of our sister for a long time, and finally she agreed to come on my show. I want to say, first of all, peace to Brother C. Will of the African Knowledge Network. Peace to my dear brother, the Right Reverend Dr. Mutoise, who is here with us today. Welcome to you all. Welcome to all of the guests. And if you desire to say something at any given time at the show, please chime in. But without further delay, I've said enough. We played enough. At this particular time, I would like to bring in my dear sister, my sister Jolie Vett. How are you doing today, sis?
Greetings. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure and our honor, sis. Trust me when I tell you. How are you doing tonight?
Absolutely wonderful. I was listening to the opening clip, and I was thinking, who is that woman? Oh, my goodness. You would get the one clip where I was upset. I'm not always upset like that. God, of all the clips, he sifted through and got that one. Okay. But, yeah, that was one of those days where I just had enough with, whatever. And so I had to say that and unload. So, but anyway, I appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate you. I'm very, very grateful that you thought enough of my message, my mission, my purpose, to have me, be a part of your program so that I could share with your listeners.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pleasure and it's an honor. And trust me when I tell you, sis, I know you are a 1,000% sweetheart. And that particular time, that's why I played the clip, because knowing you and what I've heard of you, for you to have gotten like that, somebody must have pushed you over the edge.
Yeah.
But we're going to get right on into it, because I'm pretty sure there will be questions in a little while. We'll have a lot of callers, and we have some guests with us. So can you please start off by telling us, basically, give us the background of the movement entitled Women's Song and how it came to be.
Okay. Women's Song actually was a branch from the African Knowledge Network. African Knowledge was a group that my husband started a couple of years ago. And there were issues that I felt were very specific to women and that I felt that should be discussed privately.
Yes.
So that we could be honest. And, you may not know this, or you may, but sometimes when women are trying to articulate themselves around men, we tend to, speak differently than when it's just, the girls. And so I thought, why don't I start a group where we can get together and speak of issues very specific to us in an open and honest forum without the color of pretense, for lack of a better word. And so that's actually how Woman's Song began. And that was it. It was just that simple. It just was a need that I decided to fill, and then here we are.
Okay. And I really respect your husband's work, too. I've listened to your show, The Tribal Family. In fact, as Muslims, we're supposed to fast the first 3 days of every month. But after that show, I went on the fast after you talked about it, because it just, it was just very inspirational. I love Dude, and I love his work and what he talks about. I got two questions I want to ask, but I guess I'll ask the first one. And the first one being, so now that you have your organization, which is Women's Song,
mm-hmm.
where are you regarding your objectives? And can you please tell our listener what is your objectives?
Oh, wow. Okay. The objective of Women's Song was always to, I believe it was Frances Welsing that said that we as a community have a tendency to talk about a problem to death, analyze it to death, and then right before we get to the solution of the problem, we start talking about it again.
Right.
And so the objective of Women's Song was to talk about it to death, analyze it to death, and then get to the solution and then actually do something.
Yes.
Collectively, whether it be, because you see, when you as an individual, wherever you are, make a decision to change the way that you interact with those around you, it is a resounding effect. And so whether there were 20 women or 2,000 women, a difference could be made just by the way that we respect one another as African American females, the way that we understand our worth and our value to each other and to our community, replacing the emphasis on our strength. And because I think at this point our strength has been misappropriated egregiously.
Okay.
Putting our strength back where it belongs and being able to then facilitate a stronger and more cohesive community and nation.
Okay, but can you go into what you just said? Can you talk about how the strength has been misappropriated?
Yes. For example, the most obvious, when we're talking about the strong, independent black woman,
yes.
We're talking about generally a woman who very likely is on her own, has the trappings of what this society calls successful, which
right.
is her own job, an education of some sort, generally a child, or two, and may or may not have a husband.
Sure.
And these strengths that enable the black woman to do these things, to falsely believe that she can be mother and father, husband and wife to herself, and
sure.
and live alone, do bad by herself, I don't need a man, this kind of thing, is not just about relationships with the male and female. This is about an interpersonal relationship with your community.
Yes. Yes.
When I divorce myself from and say, I don't need, you see, nothing in nature flourishes alone.
Right.
You see. So we do need each other. We
right.
do. We need each other. And so when we say that we're independent, what are we saying? We're saying that we can make it all by ourselves. And the fact is that is not true.
Right.
And in this age of the strong, independent woman, now this is not to take away from the fact, and the point that I'm making is that we are indeed strong.
Yes.
Our strength is it is phenomenal. It was the Irritated Genie who talked about on one of the shows how the black woman, the African female, in many cases would go into slavery after her male counterpart had been captured, and she would voluntarily
right.
go with him. She would go with him into slavery because she knew the value of the cohesiveness of the unit and the strength of the unit. So regarding loyalty and strength, the black woman is well endowed.
Yes, she is.
But it has been misappropriated, and we need to bring it back to our families and to our communities so that we might all benefit from her strength and from her courage.
Oh, man. Gee, sister, this is, if you're just joining us, brothers and sisters, and you're not familiar with the voice or you hear us on archives, this is our dear sister, the great Sister Jolie Vette Williams from Wombman Song Community and the Tribal Family, and she's just breaking it down like a scientist, and it's fantastic. So along the lines of that, because being a part of Women's Song Community, the Tribal Network, African Knowledge Network, you've been a part of the Black movement per se, and you're familiar with families and sisters in the Black movement. So my question to you would be this. Do you think finances play a significant role in either elevating or undermining the Black family in the movement, you know, more so than in like your basic Negro family that has nothing to do with the progress of Black people?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to start like this. First of all, I don't see a difference. There's no dichotomy between the Black family that's in the movement and the Black family that is, quote, unquote, out of the movement, because we are all a part of the movement, whether you're moving toward a common goal or away from it. We're all moving towards something. And finances absolutely come into play because that happens to be what I feel is one of our Achilles heels as a nation. You see, we are some statistics will say 16 in our spending and how much money we have, so many trillions of dollars that we spend as a nation every year.
Right.
You see, so when we see what the media tries to tell us, and that is that we are poor and broken and have nothing. No, we have plenty.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but we don't know what to do with it.
Right.
So what to do with it. And so we have been miseducated. We've been educated to become consumers, and that's what we do. We get money to spend money, you see, and we don't know how to make money work for us. We work for money.
Right.
And so what's happening is we're at a place where for example, if you live in a place where there are jewels, stones, precious stones, all in the gravel where you walk along the road, it is of no value and no consequence to you because you don't know what you have, and you walk on it. It's nothing. It's just rocks, right? But until you realize the value that you have, your capability, and you harness your resources properly, well, then you will continue to think that you are poor. You will continue, and this is taught. I'm not trying to bash and just say, that we're just inherently unlearned or ignorant to certain things regarding finances and so on and so forth. What we have been taught is that with this individualism and separatism, we are reluctant to combine resources, and resources aren't always money. Sometimes resources might be the homegrown okra that you have in your backyard or potatoes that you grow or whatever. But it's a community awareness, something that we've lost, we've long since lost. I want to say most detrimentally with the ushering in of desegregation, but that's a different a horse of different color. We could talk about that at another time, but we've lost that sense of this is what we must do together to be greater. What we have now adapted as a community is you need to try and get an education, get a job, get money so that you can get out of the hood. You need to get away from who we are and what resembles us. You need to leave this, abandon it, and then look back and say, look at how that neighborhood is, and look how our community has gone down, and
right.
no one,
and those people.
Right, those people won't do anything, but our best and brightest run away with the vigor and, of a sprinter to get away from who we are, and we never think to come back and to invest in ourselves again, because we do not see ourselves as worthy commodities.
Right. And, I agree with you 1,000% because, and people have said this to me because, I have a job career that gives me a decent pay grade, and, and people ask me all the time, like, why don't you move out? And honestly, it's for two reasons. Number one is I don't want my children growing up and thinking it's okay to lick white folks in the mouth, and then the next thing you know, I got to reteach them what I've been trying to teach them all my life. Because, when you move out into their communities, your children, they don't know the difference. They're growing up around them, and that's the only friends that they could have. So it's a horrifying thought for me, because I have 3 daughters and 1 son. And it's a horrifying thought for me to think of, going to the mall and seeing my daughters running around there with mini skirts on and their hair looking just like these white girls. And I tell people that all the time, like, that's the number one thing, regardless of what you may teach in your setting, the hood will teach your children who they are and what they need to know about who they are. And if all you ever think about is, well, once I get this money, man, I'm getting up out of here, then you may have to pay that price one day.
Right. You are. I would say that it's virtually impossible to avoid that circumstance, because what you've taught from the beginning, from their birth, you've taught them that this is the least, the worst. Right. And whenever you can, then you, quote, unquote, better yourself instead of bettering where you are. You run away from, leave it. And that's just how we see ourselves. And it resounds throughout our interactions with each other. It resounds in our relationships, in our our marriages, all of this. That's that gift that keeps on giving. Just that, yeah.
See, now this is amazing, because the way in which you're speaking and the way you're shaping what you're talking about, it's a more like you're. I guess the view of the neighborhood as a community is something that's really hard to get over to people, black people in particular, because we look at the hood as like a war zone and it's this and it's that. And the way that you articulate it, it's more so a place where everybody has something to add with rich experiences. And to better it means to just basically concentrate on ridding it of all those bad elements. Am I correct? Or
I say that it's both. It is a war zone because we are in a war.
Right.
That's a war. When you look into your community and you see the depression of our people and the schools and really you could just name all the elements. How you don't see black businesses. You don't see the types of community awareness, as you were speaking of, people that see the community as something that is them. It directly reflects us, you see. So it doesn't matter that you've run away from it. It's still you.
Right.
You see? And so there is a war going on, okay, because black people don't grow coca leaves or import cocaine. I mean, you need to go there. I mean, it's that these things were placed into our communities. I mean, it's knowledge. It's common knowledge. These aren't conspiracy theories. It's common knowledge. You can just look it up. These things were placed in our communities. Therefore, you see, if you understand the art of war, then you'll understand that we are under attack. And it seems as though the reason that we're losing is because nobody, in our community realizes that. And we can't effectively identify our enemy. You see, what we have done is we've been taught that our enemy looks like us.
Yes.
And then we live up to that ideal. we live up to that. And so it's just a cyclical understanding and a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. Now, see, now you're talking my language because, you know, the very basic tenet is warfare is the way of deception. So if, in fact, our people have been made to seem the enemy looks like you, then that's one of the biggest deceptions, one of the basic deceptions that have been played on us. And we, even with knowledge, I believe a lot of us still fall for that every single day.
That's right. And if the enemy looks like me and I reflect you, then isn't the enemy me?
Right, yes.
You see what I'm saying? How do we win? How do we win? How do we win this? How do you get out of that type of thinking? Because everybody will tell you, you know, black folks ain't going to come together. We don't want to trust each other. You know, I'm not going to give no money. I don't support black businesses because they got a bad attitude. But you'll go into Target or whatever, Wally World, and they'll have a bad attitude, and you'll go back.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
You'll continue to give them your money.
Yes, ma'am.
You see, you'll as a matter of fact, you'll go sit in and stand in and shut in to force them to take your money.
Right.